3 questions, you're cheating. What attracted me to the story? I was completely and utterly swept up in trying to understand the reason that this man, King Edward VIII, would give up the throne for the woman he loved, for Wallis Simpson. Why he would relinquish this great position of power for love. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I wanted to investigate. I wanted to find out why. That was my original attraction. Also, more than one question. So, would I ever give up my throne for a man or a woman? I think I can have both. Or all 3. The thing about the Duke and the Duchess, or world of King Edward VIII, and the world that Wallis Simpson found herself in, is that it was a world of luxury and beauty and decadence to a certain extent, and I wanted to reflect that world visually in my film. And also, once again, in the modern day story, this is also an environment or a world of decadence and beauty and glamour and people who breathe a rarefied air. And so I needed to reflect that visually in the film. And also to make the point that no matter how beautiful and glamorous your surroundings, it doesn't mean that you're going to be, there's no guarantee for happiness. Let me see. Am I applying more restrictions? No. No, the thing is, when you make a film, you have to have strength of mind and heart and soul. You cannot, it's too challenging of a project, and this was a really big project for me to take on. So I think I went into it prepared, and I think making films is really hard in the first place, so you have to really believe in your subject matter and be passionate about it, because there will be challenges along the way, and so you have to be prepared like the captain of a ship. No matter what happens, you've got to keep going. So your spiritual foundation has to be strong from the beginning. But since I've gotten to Venice, I've applied absolutely no restrictions.
Spirituality strikes me as being something that's deeply personal and not something that's often discussed openly, but I think for me it felt that it manifested itself with Madonna as very strong vision, very clear communicator, and really good love. That's beautiful spirituality as far as I can see.
It has an incredibly nurturing spirit, and considering the level, the epic requirements to write and direct a movie, no question was too small or too stupid. She was nurturing to us to the smallest detail.
So, I've always loved film all my life. I've been a film lover. As a young child, I was always influenced and inspired by movies. And I think I've always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to make one. So, needless to say, I see myself as a storyteller, so I don't think it's such a big jump to go from songwriting to making films, because in the end, we're all telling stories. And I was obviously attracted to very creative people, which is why I married Sean Penn and Guy Ritchie, two very talented directors. And they both encouraged me as a director and as a creative person to do what I did. They were both very supportive. While I was interested in the epic romance of Wallis Simpson and King Edward VIII, I was never interested in making a straightforward biopic, because I think that truth is subjective, and one could never make the quintessential story about someone's life and say, this is the truth. It's important to understand that it is my point of view after digesting all the information and doing all the years of research that I did. And I wanted the movie to have a point of view, so I created the modern day story of Wally that Abby plays, and essentially the Duchess's story is told through the eyes of Wally. only to emphasize further the point that truth is subjective and that we, depending on where we're standing and depending on who we are and what life experiences we've had, we are going to experience that story in a different way, and it's going to mean something different to each and every one of us. So that's important to know. Well, I identified with her in that I think it's very common when people become celebrities or public figures or icons that we are often reduced to a soundbite, and you're given a few attributes, and then you're not allowed to have anything more than that. I think that Wallace Simpson was much aligned in the history books. I think people didn't understand the choice that the king made to give up this position. I think it changed English history. It changed the history of the world in many ways. So often people greet unfamiliar circumstances with fear, and I think people try to diminish her as a human being because they didn't understand this choice that he would make. And it was important to me not to make her a saint by any stretch of the imagination, because I don't think she was. What I think she was a human being, and I tried to portray her and everyone else in the story as a human being. That was important to me. Before I saw it, I was a little bit nervous because I thought, oh dear, if someone else is making a movie about the same time frame, then who would be interested in my movie? But then I saw the film, and I saw that it was from a completely different point of view. And I view the success of that film as sort of laying the groundwork for my movie. And when I saw Tom Hooper at a party recently, I thanked him profusely for setting up my movie. Because now people have a reference point, and when they watch my movie, they say, oh right, that's that person, and that's Bertie, that's Elizabeth, that's Wallace Simpson, that's the brother, etc., etc. And so there's a little bit of history, a little bit of knowledge, and we're not starting with a blank slate. I couldn't give you a percentage of how personal the movie is. I think that because I wrote it, and I think with all the things that I do, there's a part of me in everything. So to say this person's me or this situation is me would be unfair. I think artists don't create in a very conscious way what is personal and what isn't. You just become a channel, and things flow through you, and you take, and what comes out of you is obviously has the residue of your personal experience, but it is also soaking up the world around you and all of my influences since I've been making art. I didn't have time. If I could have cloned myself, I would have done the score as well. But no, I wanted to concentrate on being a director, and I think I wanted to take off my music making hat and leave that job to somebody else. And I was very fortunate to work with Abel Kuzminowski and Jan Tiersen, and used some really interesting source music as well. And I love the soundtrack, so I'm very pleased with it. And pleased that I wasn't personally involved in it. She asked me how I avoided making a banal and trivial love story. Well, I don't see love as banal and trivial, and I don't see it as sentimental either. I think love is as impossible to describe or explain as trying to understand the nature of God, or the laws of the universe, etc. It's just one of those intangible, unexplainable things. What I do know is that it's the force that moves us all, and without love, we couldn't exist. So how could one make a love story and make it banal and trivial? That wouldn't be the truth.
More inexhaustible, more excited about the subject material, and there's no question with Madonna, it comes with an element of fear for people who first encounter her, which she dismisses instantly because there's work to be done. And it was, as Andrea said, a genuinely beautiful artistic experience. it's an industry that is very strongly dominated by males, and so to